Hello everyone, welcome back to Hope Worldwide Academia. So last class we were talking about many criteria, right? I thought I can include one more criteria in this week related to research. As we know that research is being classified into quantitative research and qualitative research, right? So what is quantitative research? Quantitative research is based on quantity, right? Measurement or experiment. So this is called, means the data will be in empirical format, whereas qualitative research, the information can be written in descriptive format, right? So this is the main classification of research, or else it is also classified as experimental research and descriptive research. Experimental, where you have an intervention, where you don't have an intervention, will be called as descriptive research. So when we look at research design, again research design is classified into experimental design and non-experimental design, like descriptive design. So I thought I can teach you one of the criteria which is related to experimental design. Okay, so it's quite interesting to study. You don't have to remember so many terms here, just remember one acronym which is called MCR. Okay. So what is MCR here? Experimental design emphasizes on these three criteria. M stands for manipulation. C stands for control. And R stands for randomization. Randomization. Okay, so don't forget these three terms: manipulation, control, randomization. What do you mean by manipulation here? See, come back to the definition. I said, or come back to the previous class, I said about there are two variables in research statement or problem statement, right? So what are the two variables we have to mention in problem statement? Independent variable and dependent variable. Okay. For example, your knowledge is dependent variable, or your knowledge can be changed according to the classes that you are attending. So the class becomes, or the lecture sessions will become independent variable, and your knowledge will become dependent variable. So come back to manipulation. Which variable has more power to manipulate this? The independent variable. That means the lecture what you are receiving has more power to manipulate or bring changes in your knowledge. If lecture is very good, you will have good increase in your knowledge, right? If it is average, okay, little bit. So that's how this is called. Manipulation is nothing but efficiency of the independent variable to have an impact on dependent variable. Okay, so I would give again one more example from medical science. Smoking causes lung cancer. So which is the dependent variable? Lung cancer depends on smoking, right? So smoking has the power to increase or decrease the incidence of lung cancer. So manipulation is nothing but ability or capacity of independent variable to bring an impact on dependent variable. Okay, hope it is clear for everyone. Okay, manipulation is nothing but bringing changes. So in which variable is more prone to undergo changes? Dependent variable. Which has more power to bring the changes? Independent variable. I think it's clear for everyone. So that is called manipulation. Now come to the second one, is called control. What do you mean by control? See students, if you go for, I am talking about which type of study? Experimental. Okay. So when you talk about experimental research or experimental design, researcher can have two groups. Okay. Researcher can divide the subjects into two groups. One is experimental group and the other one is called control group. Okay. Experimental group who undergo, the number of subjects who undergo experiment or treatment is called as what? Experimental group. It is also called as treatment group. Alright. So the group which do not undergo or which does not undergo any kind of intervention is called as what? Control group. Okay. So when the researcher divide the subjects into two groups, experimental group and control group, is called as, it is all about what? Control. Okay. So when you talk about control, it is like sometimes for example, I am taking 60 students. Okay. 60 adolescent girls and 30 I will divide. 30 experimental group, 30 control group. This experimental group I will give them health education on menstrual hygiene. Whereas for this 30 I will not give them any kind of health education, I may not give any kind of intervention. So those 30 will become what? Control group. Okay. So hope it is clear for everyone. So as a researcher, what is my sample size? 60. So what did I do? I have divided into 30 and 30. Who undergoes the intervention? Experimental group. Who do not undergo intervention? Control group. Sometimes see, what is my intervention? Health education on menstrual hygiene. Sometimes I may introduce placebo. What is placebo? This 30 will undergo menstrual hygiene health education, and this 30 I will tell them to watch online videos on what? Health education on menstrual hygiene. So that health education online class may become what? Placebo. Okay. So later we will discuss. Just understand what is placebo. A substitute that I am giving instead of an intervention to a control group becomes placebo. Okay. That is one term you need to remember in research. Come to the other one, randomization. Okay. What do you mean by random effect or randomly you select something? Means you are generally selecting by lottery method. Okay. Out of 100 I need only 60 people or 60 participants for my research study. What will I do? I'll divide, I'll make the chits or the lots of all the names, and I'll make somebody to take the chits, or 60 will be selected. So randomization in research is all about giving the participants equal chance. Okay, giving the participants equal chance to to being a part of research study is called as what? Randomization. Randomization is a process of selecting the subjects by giving them equal chance. How do I give them equal chance? I may go for randomized selection, lottery method, head and tail. Okay, so all many techniques are there that we will be seeing in the other chapter, like sampling process and all, sampling techniques and process I will be teaching you. Okay, so don't forget this criteria. What's the criteria for experimental design? MCR, manipulation, control, randomization. Manipulation is all about the power of independent variable to bring changes on dependent variable. I gave you so many examples here: smoking and lung cancer, lecture class or lecture and knowledge among students. All these are some of the examples. Okay. Now come to control, where the researcher divide the participants into two groups: experimental group and control group. What is another name for experimental group? Yes, that's called treatment group. Okay. Who undergoes treatment? Only experimental group will undergo treatment, whereas control group does not undergo any kind of treatment. Hope it's clear for everyone. And come to randomization. What do you mean by randomization? Randomization is a process of giving equal chance for the participants to for being selected in research. Okay, so that's about MCR. Apart from that, I gave you an introduction that there are two types of studies: quantitative studies, which is based on empirical evidence, whereas qualitative studies is all about it's pertaining to description, right? So then I taught you about what is experimental design. So this MCR is ultimately related to what? Experimental design. Okay, so that's all about MCR, and the question of the session is about, okay, what is a term I have taught you in control? Some other term which is related to research for control group. Okay, instead of an intervention that you are giving to experimental group, something that researcher introduced. What is that called? Okay, so if you know the answer, please put your answer in the comment box, and thank you so much for learning and enjoy learning. Thank you all. Bye bye.